Alright, so, been meaning to try to make this video, so I'm just gonna fucking give it a shot. I'd like to kind of title this video, The Beginning of My Brother's Campaign. See, the D&D campaign that I've been running, my brother has been so kind as to write journal entries from the point of view of his character. So, I've felt bad about not, contributing to his campaign in the same way. What I'd like to do is, a la Matt Collville, who is, I suppose, my brother and I's, like, one of our bigger inspirations, and just to kind of straight copy his whole style in of his campaign diary videos. So, what my hope is that this will be the beginning of me recounting the tales from, or the adventures, I should say, of my brother's campaign from my point of view. I want to talk about different pieces of my brother's campaign that he's added in, and maybe not even about his campaign, but just about the way that he runs. We've gone back and forth running our two separate campaigns, and like every time I end up playing in his game, there are certain things where I'm like, motherfucker, like, I'm really fucking jealous of that. Before we set out on his campaign, he ended up, we made our characters, and then he wrote up, like, these fucking elaborate backstories for each character that really kind of ground everybody in the world, and they already, like, from kind of session one, like, everyone has, like, just things that tied them into the world. And really, as of yet, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about anybody else's sort of character motivations necessarily, which is the thing that's craziest about it, is that, like, he made all this stuff for people, and they're like, this is our first, first two campaigns with this whole group playing D&D, and everyone has kept their secrets and is kind of slow to reveal them, which has been really interesting. I would have thought that everyone would have just, like, motor mouthed, like, vomited out any kind of crazy shit they had in their backstory to, like, fucking impress all the other players, like, first, through, like, third, fourth session. But, like, everybody is still, like, retaining their little secret shit, like, we have two different warlocks in the party, and they have different patrons, and I still don't fucking know who their patrons are. We've got a ranger who, he's been doing, like, side missions with my brother when the rest of us aren't playing because he hasn't been able to make the sessions, but he still does these side missions, and it's, like, seriously affected what's happening to us in our, when we all get together in our main campaign. So yeah, it's just fucking super interesting stuff that I don't do, that I think is really fucking great that he does. He has this whole table of different trees, and they all have kind of a different look to them and different properties, and when we're, like, out and about, he can either roll or do whatever the fuck he does with his table, and he has something interesting for us for these trees, which has kind of, like, become sort of a focal point for my character Murim, which I'm, like, in fucking super jealous of. So fuck you, little brother, you can eat shit. So I really should have gotten my notes out for this, but I'm gonna try this take at least verbatim, as close as I can remember to the way that everything went. In our first real session, part of the whole, problem for my brother, because he is trying to interweave all these elaborate backstories, is that he did have to get us all to the same place. So, and that was, pretty easy to do, like, small little missions with everybody, like, right up front while, the table was kind of getting its bearings and fucking getting ready to go. My character in his campaign is a half-orc druid named Murin Adamhart. Half-orcs are extremely rare. Like, the people on the main continent haven't even really, like, come in contact with orcs necessarily, so me being a half-orc, I'm kind of like one of the only ones in the land. My portion of the adventure starts off in a region of his campaign world called Forever Autumn Forest, which is, like, insanely fucking cool. the thing about Forever Autumn is that, I mean, it is exactly as the name says. All of the different types of trees and the sort of whole biology of the place is constantly in a state of autumn and fall. So it's got all those colors associated with it. After my character made his trek um, from the Maw, which is where his orcish parent, I should say, was from, he found himself in Forever Autumn, and wandering around, he came across a very interesting looking bear. So, not knowing exactly what to do with this bear, I kind of hunkered down and followed it back to this bear's lair. So, when I came to this lair, there were I'm forgetting exactly how this worked out in play, but there was a message that said to collect this certain type of wood. So my character went out foraging, and I made like a little, nice, tightly fucking compacted bundle of this little wood, and it was like made super ornate to try to, like, obviously narrate myself into the good graces of my brother, but also to help myself trying to get into this character of mood. And I brought this sort of bundle, this ornate little bundle, back to this bear, and it turns out that this bear is a halfling druid, and ostensibly we have a conversation, and then cut time to like training montage. I made my way into kind of the main city that we're inhabiting as of current, called Rivergate. And the other characters like made it in there as well. They had their different trials and tribulations. I think some of them came in on a boat. Jackie's character came in and she almost got killed by like some fucking twig blights and shit like that. But we all made our way into town eventually. And then basically the first thing that we're seeing when we're in town is that they are in the beginning of this harvest festival. So Rivergate, as far as I know, is known for growing these like fucking like gourds and fucking pumpkins and wheat. As my character is making his way into town, it is nighttime, and I come across a like a lone goblin, if I remember correctly, sort of sneaking around the fucking outsides, and but before I come across this goblin, I find something in the woods, and it's kind of far away, and then it darts away. So then I go try to like sneak up and find this thing, and I find it like, scaling the walls into Rivergate, and I don't have time necessarily to deal with whatever that was, and I don't even know the name of the town at this point. And I come across this lone sort of goblin, that I down this goblin, and then, the gate watch hanging out on top of the parapets, the wall of this, of Rivergate. One of them finds me and kind of hails me down. I ask what they're doing with these fucking goblins and where I am and all that, and I get invited in, but then, I'm the first fucking half-orc that these people have ever seen, so I'm being watched, and they're not quite sure if they can trust someone of my sort of ethnicity, but I'm not like openly fucking like hunted and fucking scorned necessarily. They're just kind of like keeping like a wary eye on me. Next morning rolls around, and the party is kind of not even a party yet, like not even kind of cohesively formed into anything. But the first thing that happens, and maybe this requires a little bit of fucking backstory as well, is that one of our other friends playing in this campaign, Tyler, he and our friend Zach had played sort of a prequel mission between their two characters in this same world. And Tyler, rolled up. He wanted to be a fucking monk, and after rolling fucking 4d6, dropped the lowest, like rolling stats and rolling two sets of stats, his stats were like considerably like not fucking great, like not necessarily what you would maybe think of as like an adventurer's stats. So through maybe some poor choices and some poor planning, The mission that Zach and Tyler went on did fucking not go well, like whatsoever. And Tyler being, you know, sort of frustrated with the low power and low level of monks, decided to fucking abandon this character. So, my brother, being a shiesty motherfucker, decided that we were gonna basically do the start of our whole group's campaign by watching this monk who was like, I guess decided was like a fucking teenager, watching this kid, you know, since the character had been abandoned, that he had kind of fucking gone on to like a little life of crime. This character that Tyler abandoned is now getting like fucking executed in the streets. You know, he's fucking up there in the gallows, and my brother, to like fucking, you know, have the effect feel very real for our friend Tyler, just kind of described the whole scene and didn't give this character's name. And right as my brother kind of narrates the trapdoor fucking swinging down and his body fucking like going limp, he takes Tyler's old character sheet from that character and fucking rips it in half and then fucking hands it to him. And Tyler all of a sudden has this fucking realization that like, oh my god, you fucking executed my character.